On the afternoon of December 9th, 1965, a fireball tore across the sky over 6 states and part of Canada. People stopped their cars, air traffic controllers logged calls. And near a tiny village in western Pennsylvania, residents said something came down in the woods. By dark, the military had cordoned off the area. Witnesses watched a flatbed truck pull away with a covered object on the back. The next morning, officials said they'd searched the woods and found absolutely nothing. You're listening to The Unlit Room. Every story in here actually happened. That's the part that should scare you. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. This episode's narration is AI-generated. The research, writing, and editorial decisions behind every story are made with care for accuracy and respect for those involved. Today, the night the government said nothing fell, and a whole village remembered it differently. Kecksburg is a village in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania. In 1965, it had a volunteer fire department, one main road, and fewer than 300 people. It was the kind of place where if something unusual happened, everybody knew about it within the hour. December 9th, 1965 was a Thursday, clear, cold, late afternoon. The kind of day where the sky starts to darken early and people are already thinking about dinner. At 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time, the sky lit up. A brilliant fireball streaked from northwest to southeast across a corridor stretching from Michigan to New York. People in Ohio saw it. People in Pennsylvania saw it. People across the border in Ontario saw it. Air traffic controllers fielded calls. Police switchboards lit up. Some witnesses reported sonic booms. Others described a long smoke trail, glowing orange and white, cutting across the twilight. The object was visible for several seconds, long enough that people had time to stop what they were doing and stare. A fireball that bright, crossing that much sky, is called a BOH-LIDE. It's a meteor, a chunk of rock or metal burning up as it enters the atmosphere. Bolides happen, they're dramatic, they're memorable, and they usually burn out completely before they reach the ground. Usually. Astronomers knew what a BOH-LIDE looked like. The public did too. Sputnik and the space race had made people look up more often. The 1960s sky was crowded. Satellites, probes, debris from launches, meteors. Most of it burned up harmlessly, and most sightings ended with a shrug and a phone call to the local paper. But near Kecksburg, the story didn't end with a phone call. Residents reported that the object appeared to descend, not burn out overhead, but come down low and close, somewhere in the wooded hills outside the village. Some said they felt a concussion, like a heavy impact. Others said they saw a plume of smoke rising from the trees. The Kecksburg Volunteer Fire Department responded. A handful of locals headed into the woods to see what had happened. What they reported finding in a ravine thick with underbrush was an object. Not a crater, not scattered fragments. An object. The descriptions were strikingly consistent. Roughly the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, shaped like an acorn, a rounded, tapered form with a flat base. Metallic, and according to some witnesses, it had markings on it. Symbols. Not letters they recognized. Not numbers. Something else. Micro Cliffhanger 1. By early evening, word had spread through the village. People were heading toward the woods, and then the military arrived. Witnesses reported that military personnel, some said Army, some said Air Force, set up a cordon around the area. Roads were blocked. Curious residents were turned back. Reporters who tried to get close were told the area was off limits. Lights were brought in. The woods were searched under portable floodlights. And late that night, according to multiple witnesses, a flatbed truck left the scene. On the back, covered with a tarp, was something large and rounded. The witnesses were certain. They'd seen it. The fire chief had seen it. Local police had seen it. A truck had carried something away. The next day, December 10th, the official statement was released. Authorities had conducted a thorough search of the area. They had found nothing. The fireball had been a meteor. It had burned up in the atmosphere. No debris, no crash, no object. The residents of Kecksburg were left holding a story that contradicted the official record in every particular. For a small town, that kind of disconnect is surreal. You know what you saw. Your neighbors know what they saw. The fire chief isn't prone to making things up. But the government says it didn't happen, and there's no physical evidence you can point to, because whatever evidence there might have been left on the back of a truck. So the story becomes local law. The thing people talk about at the diner. The thing outsiders think you're exaggerating. And for years, that's where it stayed. Kecksburg became a footnote in UFO literature. Researchers came through, witnesses were interviewed, theories circulated, but nothing changed. The official story remained: meteor, nothing recovered, case closed. Then, in 2005, 40 years after the incident, something shifted. A journalist named Leslie Kane had been pursuing Freedom of Information Act requests, trying to get NASA to release any records related to the Kecksburg event. NASA had stonewalled. But in 2005, under legal pressure, NASA issued a statement. The statement acknowledged that in 1965, NASA experts had examined fragments from an object that had fallen to Earth. The fragments had been analyzed, but how, and this is where the statement became more interesting than any debris, NASA said the records related to that examination had been lost, not classified, not sealed. Lost. Micro cliffhanger 2. Missing records are not proof of a conspiracy, but they're not proof of transparency either. And when the records that go missing are the ones that might answer a 40-year-old question, the absence becomes its own kind of evidence. In 2007, Leslie Kane and a team of researchers sued NASA, asking a federal court to order a more thorough search for the missing Kecksburg files. The case dragged on for 2 years. In 2009, a judge ruled in Kane's favor and ordered NASA to conduct a comprehensive search. NASA complied. They searched, and the result was, more or less, nothing definitive. No smoking gun, no acorn-shaped craft with hieroglyphics. No recovered alien technology, but also no clear explanation for what the witnesses saw, or what was on that flatbed truck, or why records from a routine meteor investigation would vanish. The most likely prosaic explanations are still on the table. A BOH-LID meteor that fragmented and fell near Kecksburg. Re-entering space debris from a Soviet satellite or probe. The Cold War sky was full of junk, and not all of it was tracked carefully. Either scenario could explain a military response. Either could explain a quiet removal. Neither explains the missing paperwork. There are 2 versions of December 9, 1965. In one version, a meteor burned up over Pennsylvania. People saw something dramatic in the sky, and a small town got excited over nothing. In the other version, something came down, the military took it away, and the government decided the simplest answer was to say it never happened. The uncomfortable thing is that both versions are built on real evidence. The fireball happened. That part is undisputed. The witness accounts are consistent and numerous. The NASA admission about lost records is a matter of public record. What's missing is the thing in the middle, the object itself. The files that would tell us what it was. A whole village remembered the same night the same way. And the official record remembered nothing at all. 60 years later, the gap between those 2 stories is still there, and the missing files mean it's likely to stay that way. If this one kept you up tonight, good. New stories every day, Monday through Saturday. Subscribe so the next one finds you too. Follow the Unlit Room wherever you listen. Tell a friend who can't sleep. Full story on the main channel. Follow if you're wide awake. That was the Unlit Room. See you in the dark.